Hello, welcome to Licensed to Succeed. Licensed to Succeed is your channel where you learn about God's will for success, God's interpretation of success, and more importantly, God's way to accomplish or achieve success. And I am your uncle. Olatunji Sobodu is my name. And today I have something very important, something special. It's serious business today. And I want you to settle down, grab a cup of coffee, make yourself comfortable, but pay attention because what we'll be discussing today, if you can get a hang of it, if you can run with it, then you enhance significantly your chances of returning a success, and not a one-off success, a perpetual success, a perpetual success. So what are we going to be talking about today? And I am saying to you, don't do it afraid. Don't do it afraid. Don't do it afraid. That's what we're talking about, today. That's what we are talking about today. And by the way, I come to you on Tuesdays and on Fridays. And so you want to subscribe to the channel, so that when the broadcast comes, you are notified ahead of time, you can prepare and you can join us live. And you have an opportunity, by the way, to ask me any question on this important subject of how to succeed. All right. And so maybe along that line, you may want to check out some of the broadcasts that we have had before now. This is a new channel specifically, put together under inspiration to teach people God's will for success and God's way to accomplish it. And so I had started out, and you can check these videos in the channel, all right, to bring yourself up to speed. There's a lot in them. They lay the foundation, to enable you maximize what the channel has to offer. I started by talking about no excuse to fail, to lay that foundation that what we are embarking on here, what success means to God, also implies that you have no excuse to fail in life. No excuse will be good enough. All right. And you can check the reason why in that broadcast, in that video. Then I examined what really is success. I mean, if we say license to succeed, if we say this channel is about, how to succeed, then it's important that we define it, very clearly, so that also everything that comes to you from this channel can be put in proper context and not taken out of context or misinterpreted. We know that a lot of people in this day and age, can be up to mischief. So if, and it's for your benefit. I mean, if you're going to be a part of this channel, a part of a community, it's important that you know what the community is about, what they subscribe to, so that you can make maximum use of the opportunity and to know whether or not you are in the right place. But I'm sure you are in the right place if success, God's way, is what you desire. You are in the right place. So then we go on to talk about what is failure. All right. There are two sides of a coin. There is no in between. What is failure? And we laid out. And the reason I spoke about that is so that you are not left to second guess. Just because we've talked about success doesn't mean that, okay, so I know what failure is. All right. But we laid it out and it will be useful. And then I talked about the fact that you are licensed. The focus of the channel is licensed to succeed. Okay, so what's this license? All right, so what's this license? And that's what we talk about there. And the last broadcast, I talked about how to use your license to succeed. I'm sure you want to check that out as well. Like I said today, it is don't do it afraid. Don't do it afraid. And why did I decide to speak to that, subject? And this, I was watching some video someday, and this phrase came, from the delivery, and the counsel was, yes, many people find it difficult to act even though they learn, but they should do it afraid. And reflecting on that, thinking about that, I couldn't quite place it. I couldn't quite place it. And I've done a lot of thinking around that, and I don't find for me a place for that kind of counsel. I wouldn't, on this channel, via this channel, given what we stand for, I will not counsel you to do it afraid. I won't counsel you to take any step afraid. That's not the way to go if success, God's way, is what you want to achieve. All right. Sorry, before I go on, I'm excited about something, and I need to show you. Recently just put together a proper logo for us, all right, on this channel. And it's my pleasure, to launch that logo, to introduce it today, license to succeed. So that's the logo that we'll be using. If you see it anywhere, then that we are the one. So that helps us, to further, to be more precise with our identity. Okay, so you'll be seeing that more and more, as we go along. You'll be seeing that more and more as we go along. All right, so we're talking about, don't do it afraid. Don't do it afraid. Don't do it afraid. That's the subject matter that we're examining today. All right. And, come with me. Please be patient, because this is a very important, aspect, and we need to really deal with it appropriately. Don't do it afraid. Okay. Now, first of all, it's important to establish that you can't succeed without taking action. Success is the product of action that is taken. All right. You must act if you want to succeed. Until you act, you can't succeed. Until you act accordingly, that is based on truth, based on principle, based on what you are taught, you won't succeed. Whatever it is that you achieve, will not be regarded as success, even if it looks like. All right. So there is action, but more importantly, there is action according to what is proven. Action according to certain principles, according to certain process. All right. You are not just acting just for the sake of it. You are not acting just because some other people have done it. All right. You are acting according to something. Your action is anchored, all right, to a sure source, if I might put it that way. So acting is where many get stranded. All right. Many fail to act. Of course, some, when they act amiss. All right. They act not according to any proven process or principle. And in which case, even when they act, they get frustrated. But I want to talk about, that acting, getting into the mode where you act. And one of the reasons why they don't act is that they're afraid. I mean, somebody said, being afraid to fail. All right. And being afraid to fail All right, it's like inviting failure or entrenching failure. All right, and it may well be that you are afraid to succeed as well. Okay, so they are afraid, they dilly dally, and I guess that's where that counsel comes from. That look, do it afraid anyway, even if you're afraid. Well, take the step. All right, because until you take a step, you cannot, you can't even know whether you can't prove, okay, whether you're going to succeed or not. Or for those who are more intelligent, all right, who act more intelligently, in which case they act relative to something they have learned, to a principle or to a process. Action is where you prove what you have learned. Is actually where you prove that you have truly learned something. All right. And so such people who keep learning, but they are not doing, they dilly-dally, they waste a lot of time, they have no results to show because they've never taken an action. So, yeah, if somebody is a counselor, you might be frustrated at that, so you want to say, okay, look, do it afraid anyway. But I say, don't do it afraid. Never do anything afraid. All right? Especially if you are in this kingdom, you don't do anything afraid. God does not want you to do anything out of fear. All right? Don't be intimidated into doing anything. Don't even, challenge yourself or convince yourself, I'm going to do it anyway. All right? Whatever comes out of it, comes out of it. Okay. Well, some might say, Esther said, I'm going to go and see the king, but if I perish, I perish. So, but did she do it afraid? No, she didn't do it afraid. She took a step of faith. All right. She didn't just step out to go and see the king. She knew that if she went to see the king and the king does not give her any reception, does not clear her, she had written her death sentence. All right. She knew the consequences. She settled for the consequences, but she took action. All right. To prevent the adverse, scenario from playing out. She fasted 3 days before she went to appear. She prepared. Okay. She prepared and she got people also telling her uncle, tell everybody else to join me in this 3-day fast. After it, I'm going to go and see the king. So she stepped forward by faith with boldness, knowing that yes, something could go wrong, but she had taken care of what could possibly go wrong. All right, in the place of fasting and prayer, she prepared. She beefed up, her faith, ready to take action. And what did she return with? A success. She returned a success. She returned a success. So when she was saying, if I perish, I perish, it was an expression of the depth of conviction that she had. All right. It was, stepping out in faith and saying, well, just like the 3 Hebrew boys. All right. We're going to go into the fire anyway. We know that God will save us. Faith. But let's be rest assured, even if it doesn't, save us, we're still not going to bow. Faith. Faith. Don't do it afraid. Do it by faith. Do it by faith. The success that God reckons with is one that is accomplished by faith. By faith. You remember, this channel is about God's will for success and God's way to accomplish it. And the way you accomplish success is as important, if not more important, than what you call success, than your evidence or proof of success. How did you achieve it? Do you know what the Bible says talking about success? And I'm going to be soon, introducing a series. I call it the 9 models of success. So be on the lookout for that. And one of them I'm going to take from Habakkuk 2 and verses 1 to 4. All right. And there, all right, the prophet was talking about standing on his watch, receiving, hearing what God will say, God giving the vision, running by the vision, and basically positioning himself, waiting for the appointed time, and at the end, knowing that the vision will speak. And the very next verse, it then talks about how you succeed running with the vision. All right? Talking about the fact that the just shall live by faith. Why was that mentioned? Immediately after he gave a model for success. Said, because that's the key. You are running with the vision. Your run is anchored to the vision. Your action is anchored to what you receive. This is how to get things done. But you must do so not out of fear, but out of faith. He said, because if he does not do so, I will have no pleasure in him. So you may even achieve something. You call it success, but God doesn't see it as success. God does not appreciate it. Why? Because it was not done by faith. It wasn't done by faith. Maybe it was done afraid. That is, if I don't do this, this is what will happen. No. If I don't do this, then I will fail. No. That's not faith. Faith does not anticipate or bet on failure. Faith is not scared by, the possibility of failure. Faith is saying, I know what to do. I am confident about the knowledge that I have received, and I'm going to apply myself, trusting the one who taught me, all right, to have taught me the right thing and the process and the principle to work out in my favor. All right. So that's a very instructive thing. He said, this is the way to succeed. I call it a vision-driven model of success. Okay? You have to run according to a vision. You have to act. You receive the vision, you must act. So you see action there again. But then, if it doesn't run by faith, I won't have any pleasure in him. That is, whatever it is that he achieves out of his race, I would not celebrate it. I won't be impressed by it. And the chances are he won't even accomplish anything, because it takes me, all right, to even bring the thing to pass. After all, the Bible tells us that whatever we bind on earth shall be bound in heaven. Whatever we loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. Okay, so you still need the endorsement of heaven, as it were, all right, to give meaning to your efforts, to give meaning to your efforts. Psalm 127, except the Lord build a house, the labor in vain that build it. Except he watches over the city, the watchmen are awake in vain. All right, so by strength shall no man prevail. So these are principles, by which we must operate in this kingdom. These are principles by which we must operate in this kingdom. Don't forget, we're still talking today about not pursuing your race to success afraid. Don't do it afraid. Okay? Don't do it afraid. Don't do it afraid. And I'm still on it, and I'm still showing you different perspectives, all right, on this same matter. Now, so you do things by faith. You do things by faith. We're told in Hebrews 11 and verse 2, by faith, the elders obtained a good report. All right. The elders obtained a good report. If you don't engage faith, no matter what result you get, God will not be pleased. God will not be pleased. Why do you want to do it afraid? Okay, when we understand that God has not given us the spirit of fear, 2 Timothy 1 and verse 7, God has not given us the spirit of fear. If he hasn't given us the spirit of fear, I always say that he has given us the spirit of faith. All right. He says he has given us the spirit of power, of love, and of sound mind. Therein is a spirit of faith. If you read what love is, it said it has hope, it has faith, and all of those things are inside love. Okay. So God has not given us the spirit of fear. Why do you want to act afraid in the pursuit of success? Why act afraid? Why not act with faith? You have the spirit of faith. Engage that spirit. Walk with that understanding. You don't have to be afraid or to psych yourself up, all right, to rise above fear in order to be able to act according to what God has told you is the way to succeed. Engage the right spirit, not the spirit of fear. Do what you have learned that is trusted, that has been proven, and expect the promise, all right, of that principle to happen in your case. To happen in your case. To do anything to the contrary is to displease God. All right? And we're told that fear is a torment. Why do you want to act in torment? Why do you want to expose yourself to torment? Because you are pursuing success. Why? Is it not easier to act in confidence, trusting that what God told you to do works? All right? And to say, I'm going to do it anyway, will rise above this, fear. I will take steps. You are giving fear undue attention. You are celebrating it, as it were. That's not the way to go. Remember, anything that you don't do by faith is sin. All right? God says, I won't be pleased with you. I will have no pleasure in him. Hebrews 10:38 also. I will have no pleasure in you. The just shall live by faith. Everything we do must be carried out on the platform of faith. Every action we take must be carried out on the platform of faith. Okay? On the platform of faith. To do contrary is to displease God. And the moment you step on that path, you have moved, all right, from the path that leads to the success that God will celebrate. Okay? And I guarantee that you would have shortchanged yourself. You would have shortchanged yourself. You would have shortchanged yourself. Okay? You would have shortchanged yourself. Now, let me, say a couple of things that could help. If you are held back, you are unable to act, all right, to fulfill that requirement, to go over that point. that really set you on the path of success, there are things that you must do. The fact that you are unable to act simply means that you don't have a level of conviction as yet, all right, that will push you to act. Now, John 8:32 says, "And you shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free." If you are afraid to act, then fear is holding you back, is holding you hostage. You are in bondage, as it were. You are stranded. You are being demobilized. That's what fear is doing. And how do you free yourself? You must know the truth. When you truly know that you know the truth, no power can hold you back from acting. The reason that you are stranded, stagnated, the reason you can't act, even though you have some knowledge, you have been taught some things, is because you don't have a deep enough level of understanding such that we can truly say, you know that you know that you know. And that's why, you still cannot act. That's why you are not bold enough to act. In which case, you really have not developed the faith to act. You have not developed the faith. The faith is not strong enough. The measure is not at the level that can propel and push you into relevant action. So it's a knowledge issue. It's a knowledge issue. It is not normal for you to have someone who truly knows, that is, doesn't have access to information. He has, a depth of understanding of the information at his disposal. All right. And that depth, the source of faith, and it propels and pushes him. All right. When you truly have that kind of understanding, it's like becoming drunk with what you know. And when you are drunk with what you know, the intoxication takes over you. A drunk man does not hesitate to act. Why? Because he's overtaken by the spirit, all right, that has entered into him. And he will act. He will act according, he will be controlled by that spirit. In that case, it's folly. But imagine that if you were truly driven, all right, by the spirit of understanding, you have the depth of understanding of what you have been taught, that this is the way to go, it will get you this kind of result. You will move, you will act. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Hosea 4 and verse 6. That's the problem. To overcome that, you don't do it afraid. You build your faith. And that is, you go for knowledge. So in reality, many times when people don't act, it's not that they don't know something, in quotes. It is that they don't have sufficient depth. They don't know enough. They don't have as much understanding as they should. They have not reached the level of conviction that the spirit of understanding of, the issue has not taken over them. Because if they get to that point, they will act for sure. And when they are acting, they will be acting in faith. They will be acting in consonance with what they have learned, which they have come to believe, all right, and which is the driver of their action. So, as it were, you want to be able to act in faith, to act in a way that God is pleased. You still have your homework to do. It's not the time to venture out. You don't know enough yet. You haven't built a sufficient understanding yet. In Proverbs 4 and verse 7, 8, it says, wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom. And then I love what follows. With all your getting, with everything you can muster, get understanding. Why that emphasis on getting understanding? Why didn't you attach that emphasis to wisdom? But wisdom is acting on knowledge. Okay? Therefore, the key driver of wisdom is understanding. So Solomon knew what he was saying. The wise man knew what he was saying when he was saying, let me draw your attention to the key. Spend more time building understanding of the issue, particularly what you are supposed to do and why. Because that's the key. He said, get wisdom. That's all. But he then said, with all you're getting, get understanding. Understanding is the key. Understanding is what is missing. The depth of understanding that moves your knowledge to what is true knowledge. You know that you know that you know. When you get to that point, that's the if I perish dimension of faith. That I have the conviction that things are going to fall into place because I know how this thing works. And I'm going to act in accordance with how it works, and I will get the results that have been promised. So when people are not acting, when they are dilly-dallying, when they know some little things, they can even tell you what they know. But if they are not acting, they are not acting because they have not built sufficient understanding, depth of understanding, and by implication, faith. And that's why they are still stranded. They truly don't believe. That's why they are not acting. Because if they believe, they will act. Paul says, we believe and therefore we speak. All right? That's some form of action. That's some form of action. That's some form of action. Okay? So that's really it. People are stranded. People are destroyed. People are demobilized because of knowledge. Not just information, not just casual knowledge, a depth of understanding. Nothing can hold you down. You will be free when you get to that level of knowledge because you'll be able to venture out in faith. You'll be able to venture out in faith. You'll be able to venture out in faith. All right. And it's important that you have relevant knowledge. It's important that you have relevant knowledge. While we're talking about the issue of wisdom, Matthew 7 from verse 24 to 28, Jesus was saying, talking about the parable of the wise and the foolish builders. You know, on this channel, we use parables a lot. We learn deeply from parables. They are given to enable us succeed in life. All right. And you want to check out our program, Equip Bootcamp, 40 days of walking through the 38 parables of Jesus. It will change your life. You truly want to learn how to succeed. Those are the principles, the same principles that Jesus himself used. And he said here about the wise and the foolish builders. All right. One planted on the rock. One built is out on the rock. The other built is out on sand. Said, whoever hears the sayings of mine and does them, that is, your action must be propelled by hearing from the right person about what you want to do. The people who build houses, what did they hear? They heard about how to build houses, what it takes to build houses, and one decided to take, steps, and the other refused to take steps, or he took steps according to his own way, maybe out of fear. All right. And although they looked like they got the same kind of results, it soon became clear that one's result was acceptable, the other was just a fake. So when the challenges came, the house of the foolish one fell, and the house of the wise one remained standing. Okay, so you must be driven by knowledge that is relevant to the action that you want to take. It is that knowledge that must power the action that you want to take. And you are wise only to the extent that you've learned something and you are acting on what you learned. You are not flying blind. You are not acting afraid. And in order to do that, what we are saying is that knowledge needs to be deep, characterized by deep understanding. When the counsel was being given to Joshua, in Joshua 1 and verse 8, he was told, this book of the law, that's the anchor. That is what empowers you with all the knowledge that you need to succeed. He said, then thou shalt make your way prosperous, and you shall have good success. So, but it starts with what you learn, the principles you learn, the knowledge that you acquire. But the knowledge is not enough, because he was told that you should meditate on that book of the law, that knowledge, night and day, so that you may observe to do all that is written in it. That means that book is not enough. Access to what is contains is not enough. Access to what you have learned is not enough. It doesn't matter who the teacher is. God is the one that gave the book. He says, but you must move to the level of understanding. That is what meditation does. To think and ruminate over it, ask questions, ask people, let people explain stuff to you, so that you have a, if you like, working knowledge, such that no one can confuse you about what this thing represents, what it promises, how it works. And those are the things that when you know them, you will act. You can't fail to act when you reach a level. That is the level where the depth of understanding and therefore knowledge that you have, no longer superficial, has taken over your spirit, and it moves you to act. In fact, at times you so act that you are surprised at yourself. I didn't know I could do this. Well, yes, because you have moved yourself into a realm where it is what you know that is now controlling you. That's what is now controlling you. All right? So usually, what are we talking about? Those who are being told to do it afraid, instead of trying to force it, to push it, follow process, You don't know enough yet. What you ought to be doing is to build on your understanding, perhaps to acquire more knowledge. That's why you are still afraid. That's why you are not confident to take steps. You are still lacking in understanding in some form or the other. And guess what? Doing it afraid is doing it with insufficient understanding or with no understanding at all. And God does not want anyone to do anything without understanding. Why? He's not a slave driver. He's not forcing you to do what you don't want to do. The choice is entirely yours. He has made available to you everything that you need. Like we said, you are licensed to succeed, but you have work to do to understand that license and how to take advantage of it. God has not created robots. He has created people who have minds, and he wants them to come and reason together with him. He said, come and let us reason together. I didn't create robots. Don't relate with me without understanding. That's why when he says that God will not be pleased if you are not acting in faith, it's because you are not acting with understanding. You are making him to look like he created a robot. He didn't create a robot. He created somebody with whom he wanted to, be able to converse. He created somebody who is intelligent. And he wants that intelligence to be given expression. So you can't be timid. He didn't give you a spirit of timidity or fear. No, he gave you a spirit of faith. You are supposed to energize and activate that spirit by knowledge and understanding. I guess for some, it is just laziness to acquire the knowledge, to spend time learning from people. Do you know that Jesus spent a lot of time learning before ever taking the first action towards his ministry? He spent time learning. He was learning so much, he was learning from even Pharisees, the same people that he turned around to accuse of being hypocrites later when his ministry began. But he learned from them. But he didn't learn everything they were doing. That's why when he was, counseling his own people, he said, beware of the doctrine, of the leaven, of the teachings of the Pharisees. He said, hear what they say, but don't do what they do. That shows you he knew where to draw the line. So usually the point is we have not learned enough. Many people are some people are in fact they want to take steps. They want to do things in a hurry. But guess what? They are discovering that, this thing might require more investment of more time than I thought. And that's why they are unable to take action. But the more you learn, the greater the depth of understanding you acquire, the greater your capacity to act with confidence, with faith. So don't do it afraid. That's not wise counsel as far as I'm concerned. It's not wise counsel. Do it rather by faith. And if it is by faith, you have work to do. So let me show you how to build on your faith, because the insufficiency of your faith is a reflection of the lack of sufficient understanding. And that's where there needs to be work to do. Let me show you 3-4 things that you need to do that will help you so that you can act in faith, act in a way that is consistent with how God expects you to pursue success. All right? If you do anything contrary, whatever you achieve will have no meaning to God. I don't want to do something that won't have meaning to him. I don't want to do something that I won't be able to say, like Jesus said, I have finished the work that you gave me. I want to be able to say that. but it matters how I get to that point. Now, the first thing I would say is this. Faith comes by hearing. All right? Another way to put it is faith comes by learning. And learning the word of God. Okay? But that statement holds in everything. In any area that you need knowledge, your faith in the information that you gather, all right, is formed, is built, is developed by continually learning that thing. If it's in the area of any skill, the more you learn about the skill, the greater the confidence, the faith that you derive. Knowledge generally powers faith. All right? Knowledge with understanding. The deeper the understanding you have about the knowledge that you have acquired, the greater your faith in that thing, in that area, in that knowledge will be. The greater will be your readiness, your willingness, and your zeal to take action along those lines. That's how it works. That's how it works. All right? That's how it works. In Proverbs 23, verse 26, it says, "My son, give me your heart, but let your eyes observe my ways." Give me your heart. All right, so I can release knowledge into it. But let your eyes observe my ways. Look at how to do things. Understand how things work. All right, that's how what I put, the knowledge I put in your heart, that's how it's going to empower and energize you. That's the same thing that was meant when, it said, meditate day and night that you may observe to do these things. When you look at Psalm 1, it also talks about the man who is blessed, who we are told can never fail. What was one of the things? His delight was in the law of the Lord, the same law. His delight was in the knowledge, all right, about how to succeed. And in that knowledge, he meditates on it night and day. That's the motivation and the propelling force that gets him to act and to act accordingly, according to what he has learned. And that's why his success is celebrated. The second thing that is useful is to ask others who have done it, who have results to show. Let them tell you what they have done. All right? The track record of others, the accomplishment of others, the achievement of others in the same area or related areas. People that you can trust, people whom you know to be speaking truth will help you, because it shows you that people have done what you are requested to do, and they have results to show for it. And they are able to tell you also more than you may not have learned yet from the knowledge that was made available to you. So testimonies have a way, or the experience sharing by others with proofs also builds that confidence. It builds that understanding. Now you know that there are people who have taken these steps. You know how they have done it. You can ask them more questions so that your understanding is enhanced. And all of that leads you to believing more in what you have learned and building the confidence to act accordingly. All right? We're told, by faith, the elders obtained a good report. That's the testimony that people have done it before. That people have done it before. Look at all the things listed in Hebrews 11. The various things that people did, testimonies, all right, experiences about others that we can read about, that we can learn from. They encourage us, they build our confidence. They give us greater understanding of how this thing works and what we can use it to accomplish. They show how, yes, even when obstacles, have come across, face those guys, they were able to overcome them. And the more you see that and understand it, acknowledging that this is true, this is something that has already played out based on the same thing I'm being asked to do, the more confident you are to act. This is where the work is required. So number one, you need to learn more. Number two, you need to seek from the experiences of others. Number three, you need to ask for counsel. When you have access to counsel, it builds faith. All right. You find Proverbs 15 and verse 22, Proverbs 20 and verse 18. It said, purposes are established by counsel. With counsel, make your war. I mean, you want to go to war? Of course, you need confidence. You and I know that. But it says, the confidence you need, you can secure it from counsel. Ask people who have been there, who have done that. Credible people who have proofs to show. When they instruct you, is a source, all right, of faith. When you surround, they said, in the midst of in the multitude of counselors, there is safety. There is safety. All right. So what is that saying? Again, if I'm telling you this is what I have done, this is how I did it. When I did it, this was the results I did. And it's the same thing you have been reading. And I'm confirming them to you that this thing works. And I'm showing you again what you must be mindful of, what you must be mindful of, what you should avoid, what you should make sure you do. That if you see this and you see that, don't be perturbed. Just hang in there. It will pass and all of that. Of course, you have one, greater understanding. Two, your confidence in what you have learned increases. Why? Because you are speaking to someone who has already gone through what you're about to go through and came out successful. So you seek counsel. The people who are unable to take action, who are frustrated, who are demobilized. This is part of the problem they have. They don't have counselors. They are not listening to people, accomplished people. They are not listening to others. They are not listening to experienced people. No access to counsel. And so they are frustrated. Okay? And they will remain stagnated. So that's it. So one, you need more knowledge. Two, you need to hear from people who have accomplished things, testimonies. Three, you need to seek counsel. And then I'm going to end with four. All right? And use the illustration that Jesus gave in Luke 17, verses 5 and 6. And there, the disciples, asked for something. If you like, they prayed one prayer. It said, Lord, increase our faith. Remember, we have been talking about faith. Paul said, I have fought a good fight. I have finished my course. I have kept the faith. He revealed the secret behind his accomplishments Faith. So all those books he wrote, all those actions he took, why? What was the propelling force? Faith. Said, I finished my course. I'm a success. He said, and I know that a crown is waiting for me. All right, for avoidance of doubt, I know. To show you that he knew that he was a success. And you and I can be in that. If Paul was there, you and I can be in that situation. By using the same counsel that Paul has given. These were the things he was telling Timothy. So that Timothy can take advantage of that counsel. So, they said, increase our faith. Because they saw that it was at work in Jesus himself. He always spoke about the Father. He always talked about what he hears is what he does. They knew he had faith in his Father. And he operated by it. Increase our faith. Presumably, if you increase, our faith is increased, we can do some of these things that you are doing as well. Some of these things look really far-fetched. We're afraid. We may not be able to attempt that. Said increase our faith. And that was the problem. The same time when they could not cast out the demon, they couldn't handle a situation. And Jesus had to bail them out. He said, "O ye of little faith." The faith was the issue. They couldn't succeed because the level of faith was inadequate. Say, increase our faith, as if faith is something that can be infused in people. And Jesus told them, let me show you the secret to grow in your faith. I know it's important. I know you need it, but let me show you the secret. It's not in me giving it. I have been giving you the way I have been teaching you. He said, but if you will say to this sycamore tree, move from that place and be thrown into the sea, he said, it will happen to you the way you have said it. What was he saying to them? He said, faith also grows by using the little one you have, by acting on the understanding you already have. You can still, you can still get something. You can still achieve results. All right? You can still achieve results by acting on the understanding that you already have. Okay? So, that's where I'm going to stop today. All right. I'm having some technical signs I need to shut down right now. But I hope that you have been blessed today by, this. If I can continue, I will continue at the net broadcast. But I'm with you again on Friday. See you there. God bless you. Thank you for joining today. Bye-bye.